Welcome to the Bukas Podcast. I'm your host, Robbie Jacinto, the lead developer on the Bukas Project, and in this show, we seek to illustrate the potential of information and communication technology and alleviating the developmental issues we face in our country. And on top of that, we will also detail the Bukas Project's efforts towards providing open and accessible technology to all students. Before we proceed with the main topic, I should first give a brief overview of the Bukas Project itself. The Bukas Project is a non-profit endeavor that aims to provide high-quality, locally made laptops to public secondary institutions. Our goal is to provide every student the tools as well as the information they need to build themselves bright and progressive futures. Our motto is Open Tomorrow. Ibukas ang bukas. To learn more, go to www.bukas.com.ph. Okay, with that out of the way, I'd like to discuss how the Philippines, a country with a rapidly growing economy and a large population, is having several issues, on top of which is a problem with the education system. One of the main challenges is a severe lack of education for many students, particularly those living in rural and remote areas. And in addition to this, those who do have access to education are having issues with the quality of the education itself, as the Philippines is experiencing high dropout rates and low literacy rates compared to other countries in our region. Funding for education is quite inadequate. There's a shortage of qualified teachers, and with the recent pandemic, the education system has experienced considerable school closures, and the sudden shift to online learning has only highlighted our need for technology and a good digital infrastructure. These challenges have a significant impact on the ability of our students to succeed both academically and even in their future careers. Now that sounds bleak, I know, I'm sorry, but it's not all bad. With the advent of ICT, the potential for improving education in the Philippines is huge. ICT can be used to bridge the gap in access to education by providing students with access to educational resources and opportunities that they would not have had otherwise. And that is the main reason why the Bukas Project was started. Okay, but regarding the Bukas Project, a common question I receive is, why does the Bukas Project distribute its devices through the schools, through the educational system, and not just giving the laptops or the computers to the students themselves? That's how many other charitable organizations go about it, and by doing it this way, we're just opening ourselves up to corruption or unused devices. But okay, those are good points. Let me answer with this. There are many ways that ICT can, quote unquote, help educate the youth. You could argue that simply having the internet would be enough to learn what you need. And that may be true for some. The World Wide Web presents an endless amount of resources that one can just read on their own. But which ones do you use? Where do you start? And which ones can you trust? For people who've had the internet for most of their lives, those are questions that are pretty easy to answer. But the internet itself may be a good source of information, but navigating it on your own, especially for someone new to the technology, it's going to be a dizzying feat. Similar to traditional education, ICT education should prioritize guidance, where this facilitates focus and dedication while, being able to learn with someone. You can't teach everything yourself. Thankfully, one way that ICT can be used to improve education while still providing guidance is through the use of online learning platforms. One example is the use of massive open online courses, or MOOCs. These are online courses that are open to anyone and can be taken at zero cost. MOOCs can provide students in the Philippines with access to a wide range of educational resources, including but not limited to lectures, quizzes, and interactive simulations. They can be found all in one place. Okay, but again, returning to your question, why do we rely on our partnered institutions? Okay, we depend on them to create the lessons and the content that will be shown through our computers via MOOCs. MOOCs, I'm sorry. They are the experts in that department. The Bukas Project just provides a space and a medium for their wisdom. We trust that they will provide the guidance that the students need. The Bukas Project aims to keep up with the demands by creating specialized software and hardware solutions for the needs of many students. Specifically, during the release of our first model, a concern arose regarding MOOCs. MOOCs are especially beneficial for students living in rural and remote areas, who may not have access to the same resources and opportunities as students in more urban areas and students who go to brick and mortar schools. But as many students and concerned parties understandably mentioned, the second O in MOOC, online, limits their effectiveness only to those who have a reliable internet connection. And so, we went about developing offline solutions to that problem. We developed two responses. One for those who could access the internet, but only temporarily, for students who have connection issues because of their home, or if they're relying on mobile data, that could get pretty expensive. And one for those who had completely no access to the internet, living in areas without the necessary infrastructure for digital connections. The first response was to have all of the materials programmed onto the laptops upon distribution. The lessons open based on a predetermined schedule and requires the student to interact with the lecturers for a given amount of time. The activities would also be provided with offline submission bins and deadlines. Their progress would be tracked till the end of the week, at which point they would have to connect it to the internet so their work can be uploaded and checked by an instructor. For them, that was a pretty straightforward solution, but the second one was a lot more complicated. The first thought we had decided on was, how could ICT help in a place where ICT was inaccessible? Our initial plan was to have a student's progress be automatically saved to a flash drive, and every month, volunteers would manually collect them. Now, this idea works. It's a bit too analog, so it's difficult, maybe even near impossible, to maintain long term. The manpower as well as the funds needed to maintain it is just far too high. So for the past few months, we've been communicating with other ICT 4D organizations, brainstorming solutions with no luck. Now, with this dilemma presented, we made the executive decision to expand our scope. Aside from the devices themselves, we'll work to bring the connection as well. And as a lead developer, I'm happy to announce that for the next year or so, we shall put all of our effort into bringing the communication as well as the information in ICT. Okay, with that good news, I should probably end the podcast. But before I say goodbye, I'd like to leave you with this. It's important to keep in mind that despite the potential benefits of ICT, it's not a magic solution for all of our problems. It's necessary to continue working on other fronts, such as increasing funding, addressing the shortage of qualified teachers, improving infrastructure and equipment, all of that stuff. But by using ICT wisely and in conjunction with those other efforts, we can help bridge the gap in access to education and improve the overall quality of education for all students in the Philippines. That is all. Thanks for listening for the podcast, and I'll see you all bukas.